This is KLEAN Radio.
Welcome, everybody out there listening to KLEAN Radio. My co-host with the most, the great Andrew Jetlag Spanswick is back in studio.
I feel the jet lag. I don't know about the great.
And well, I'd like to welcome everybody out there listening on our flagship station, 790 KABC, or on XM channel 243, or on the World Wide Web at KLEANradio.com. Go to KLEANradio.com right now and look at what Andrew Spanswick looks like.
Oh, yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, it is.
I just got back from England mentioning jet lag.
Yeah.
It was actually really exciting. I had a fan come up to me at a conference. He was like, I love KLEAN Radio. I'm like, you must listen to it at like 2 a.m. He's like, I don't care. I love it. It's like, it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You have a fan across the pond.
Yeah.
Did he mention me?
I didn't actually. I'm sorry about that, Judah.
And I'm assuming it's a
he.
he.
He did say KLEAN Radio, though, so that encompasses you, I guess.
That's okay. That's cool. I'm excited.
Right.
And it's actually very cool because somebody on Facebook.
And plus, what would KLEAN Radio be without Judah? Let's be honest.
That's
I mean, just the lack of the Judah dance alone.
Yeah, that's right.
It'd be half our traffic.
But on Facebook/KLEAN Radio, on Facebook/KLEAN Radio, somebody was, because you were in England, you're speaking at a conference. I heard it went amazing.
It was really good.
About drugs and all that jazz. And, somebody from Dublin who's a fan of ours in Dublin was like, I wish you could come to Dublin and help deal with the issues going on there. And I think sometimes, Andrew, and you brought this to my attention because you've been all these different places, how lucky we are in America that we have so much treatment.
Not just how much treatment we have, but the advanced sort of way people are looking at addiction. Everybody else is pretty far behind, or they've adopted models that have failed miserably, not only from a treatment perspective, but also from just how it affects society and in general. Not that we haven't as well. I mean, the war on drugs has been a miserable failure, obviously. That's something we can talk about as well. But
well, I'm actually interested in hearing about that because you're constantly bringing statistics back from over the pond that that are absolutely insane.
They blow me away. It's amazing actually that there's such a different drug culture in the UK versus America. You'd think it would be pretty much the same. But one of the most interesting speakers at the conference that I was at was talking about what they call legal drugs in Britain, which means they're compounds like bath salts we have in the United States. They keep trying to make them illegal, and they come out with something else that gets people high. You can buy them in, over the internet or wherever, and they're not illegal compounds yet because the FDA can't keep up with making them illegal. So anyway, it turns out there's over 700 compounds right now that are for sale on the internet that create some sort of hallucinogenic effect and that are completely legal. And the companies that are selling them have 3 or 4 drugs deep already made as compounds. So as soon as the government makes one illegal, within 48 hours, all the websites change, and they just change the name slightly, and they make it more extreme, whatever.
Right.
And then they sell it again, and it's back up online.
And it's totally not regulated.
It's completely unregulated, other than the attempt that every now and then they'll find a compound and try and make it illegal. But it takes the government months to make one compound illegal. So the veracity with which chemists can come up with compounds and then sell them legally over the internet and provide drugs to anybody, especially children who can't have access to regulated drugs like alcohol, and they're using all these things from over the internet. Nobody really knows what's in them except for the people that are making them.
So if you just tuned in, by the way, you are listening to KLEAN Radio, and this is a very. Are you for, we're in the rehab industry, but are you for the legalization of drugs?
I am. In fact, I think this is all the more reason to be for the legalization of drugs, because the reality is that people have always used substances that temporarily will make them feel better. The bad part of that is that people are responsible with the use of those substances. And even worse, some people, even through no fault of their own, can become addicted or abuse those drugs. And, that's the major issue. So knowing that everybody is going to probably, to some degree, use them, you might as well at least know what you're getting and regulate them.
Like alcohol.
And have them taxed and use the money to help people that do fall into addiction, or people that are damaged by people that abuse them. We often don't talk about the victims besides the addict themselves,
right,
or the drunk driver that runs and kills somebody or maims somebody. There's not much money available for those people hurt if people don't have insurance.
So do you think we're ready as a society, though, to legalize drugs?
Yeah, I think we're getting there. I really do. I mean, I think getting it through legally and through the government's going to be tough, but I think as a population, we've gotten to the point where people realize that there's no way. I mean, you look at the budget on the war on drugs, and it's just ridiculous. It's billions of dollars. We have 25% of our population is in prison that are on drug-related charges. So, I mean, it's just the vast majority of our prison population, could not be there if it wasn't for a lot of this. And we have the most people in the first world country of all first world countries with the highest prison populations.
And by the way, if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. Give us a call. The number here is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. I'm going to give you an interesting fact today. It's a sober fact of the day. Since 1980, the number of deaths related to drug overdoses has risen over 540%.
Yeah, shocking. Yeah.
So do you think legalizing drugs, this would go down?
It almost, to me, I mean, I would hope so, but I don't think that the number of people that die versus those that don't die is really the issue with regard to regulating and legalization. I think that's more about trying to regain control. The argument of saying that, the government has never tried to regulate a drug properly is we tried it once where the government actually came back and said, you know what, we're going to regulate it, and that was alcohol when the Volstead Act was revoked.
So you've been in the industry for essentially. So I want people to understand this. My co-host Andrew Spanswick, you've been in the industry for about 25 years, not just with addiction, but with mental illness. You've covered the scope.
Correct.
So this is your years of experience, basically. It's not just one night you woke up and you said, let's legalize.
No, I've wavered, I guess, over the years. I mean, it's tough when you're working in the industry to look at people that have had their lives destroyed and they're destroying and hurting the lives of family members to say, hey, let's legalize this drug. And especially when you see parents and family members that are so angry and they would love to kill the drug dealer that sold and profited off a drug being sold to their child that or to their spouse and has ruined their life. But there is no good answer to that. There's no good answer to the fact that human beings have this craving to use drugs, and one way or another, they're going to find a way to use it.
Make it safer.
Make it safer, or at least make it regulated so you can control it. I mean, and at least you know what's going on, and that you know what dosage people are taking. It might give people a little bit better idea, control over what they're doing. I mean, right now you go out and you buy crack cocaine, you don't know what the quality of that is, or what's really in it, or how much cocaine's in it, and you're more likely to overdose or have problems. So, these are tough questions. I mean, obviously, it being in the treatment industry, I'd like to say, hey, let's just get rid of it all. Let's make it all legal. Let's just pretend it doesn't exist. But that's just not the reality of the world we live in.
Right. It actually does exist.
Yeah, and you're not going to get rid of it. And I think that the point that was made in Britain at this conference, if there's 700 that we know about legal compounds out there that are being invented right now by chemists that are having effect, and we have no idea what's in that stuff. I mean, it's just coming out, constantly. And it's not like the chemists are going to get dumber; they're just going to get smarter. So it's going to get to the point where I'd rather have like a set of substances that are regulated.
Well, I always used to say that, because to anybody just listening, you're listening to KLEAN Radio, but I've been sober close to 15 years, and one of the things alcohol was my, as they say, drug of choice.
Right.
And I always
it's the number one drug of choice for people. It is the gateway drug is alcohol.
But I always used to say alcohol had quality control, because people are always baffled, like, why didn't you do drugs? And I was like, well, I didn't have a lot of money.
Right.
So alcohol, I knew exactly what I was getting every time Jack Daniels, it's been around.
Right.
And I had a fear. Yeah,
you know what it's in it. It's sealed. The alcohol content is fixed.
Right.
And at least that doesn't work for everyone. Obviously, people still become alcoholics. But at least they know when they drink one bottle of vodka, they're probably not going to die from that one bottle of vodka. Although I don't recommend drinking a whole bottle of vodka.
No,
but
that's
you're going to get sick.
That's Andrew's sober
if you haven't been
advice
drinking for a while, you're going to get sick. Takes about 6 months before you can do that.
But that's it is really amazing, by the way, that we joke about this all the time. The people that go to Whole Foods and they say they're in great shape, yet they'll buy hallucinogenics, or they'll buy pot.
I have to have organic food, and pot's organic, so it's okay.
Right, and it's like, really, you have no idea where this so in a sense,
covered in pesticides and all sorts of stuff.
Right. So in a sense, it's one of those age-old arguments that we're going through for the longest time, and I think you're right. We did lose the war on drugs.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, some people won it. The people that make money off it, drug dealers have made a lot of money. The government made a ton of money through the CIA during the Nicaraguan wars. We have cartels in Mexico that are making billions of dollars, if not trillions, worldwide. We have a law enforcement agency that is highly dependent on money from the war on drugs. In fact, most things that are going on with police forces now have to do with drug interdiction and, fighting the war on drugs and making arrests, and, real crimes are not really pursued as much.
So, by the way, if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. Give us a call. The number here is 800-222-5222. The number here is 800-222-5222. We'd love your, thoughts on this subject. Andrew, my co-host, was just getting back from London, from England. You spoke.
By the way, I want to say I think they should spend less time on giving out traffic tickets.
Who you mean?
Well, yeah.
then
I think I should, as a politician, run on that platform. Less traffic tickets.
Less traffic. That's
I don't even know where to go with that one.
No,
I got one for turning right on red. I crossed one line. It was the dumbest ticket ever. I just have to put that out there.
Just so you know, I got to say something pretty amazing.
Yeah.
In the studio tonight, my girlfriend Melissa's here. Her father, Gil the Thrill Rasmussen, and his significant other Cheryl are here. But Melissa has a great idea for the homeless. And this is going to sound sort of funny, but she wants to give them chalkboards. Instead of always having to change the signs,
right.
They could just have a little blackboard.
Gosh.
And that's my girlfriend.
They're going to end up selling them somehow.
That's true. Let's go to Lou in San Diego. Welcome to KLEAN Radio, Lou.
Hello.
How are you,
How you
Lou?
doing?
I'm doing good. I was interested in what you were saying about these substances on the internet that they're selling. I'm not familiar with that, but primarily I suffer from alcoholism. But I was just wondering, when did they ban the sale of LSD, and are any of the substances being sold on the internet today anywhere comparable to LSD? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. LSD was banned at the same time, and it was made Schedule 1 at the same time as marijuana under the Nixon administration. I think it was, don't quote me exactly, it was 73 or 74, I believe.
He's going to quote you.
So he's going to quote me, right?
And we just lost him.
Anyway, it's close to that date. And so, yeah, the problem is most of these substances that are out there are hallucinogens, like bath salts are hallucinogens, or they have an hallucinogenic effect, even though they may not really truly be classified as hallucinogens.
But I think what he's talking about actually raises a great point. To go with what you're saying is, how many of them are out there? Are there any of them close to LSD? We have no idea. But the point is, you're risking a lot by getting these drugs offline.
Yeah, and absolutely. And you got to remember also that a lot of these drugs were made illegal over racist reasons. If you look at the major push to ban drugs in the United States, most of the campaigns to ban it were based on that it was making black people and Mexicans lazy and not working hard, or that was in the case of marijuana, and then or they were raping and sleeping with white women.
I'm learning a lot tonight.
Yeah, well, there you go.
On KLEAN Radio. And I would love if somebody just tuned in at that exact moment.
Yeah, right.
In that thought. If somebody tuned in and you listening to... so give us a call at 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. We're talking about tonight the... one of the things about legalizing drugs, but I want to talk about something very interesting that happened tonight at the treatment center. It's pretty amazing. Every Sunday night we barbecue, and we barbecue for about 50 people tonight, 60 people. And one of our old clients had come, and he had a really rough day. And I hadn't seen him in about 6 months, and I was actually thinking about him tonight. And I see him, he walks in, and he's doing great. He's sober 18 months. And
That's great.
And he's struggling just with life. And he goes, I didn't know where else to go, so I just came here. And I said to him, that's like one of the, I can't imagine a better compliment for KLEAN than a former client going, I had nowhere else to go, so I just knew I could come on a Sunday night for our barbecue and come. And, we often talk about, you and I, the love and tolerance for even people that slip up sometimes. There's this shame and guilt when people are in active addiction, and they feel like, oh my God, I can't. And we also had one client that is, had come back, after he relapsed, and he goes, I had no fear of being judged. And I said, wow, that's another amazing thing, because it speaks volumes for who we are as a facility.
Well, and it's a big change from the way that treatment and the view of relapse was used very recently. If you look at the Hazelton model, which is like Betty Ford, and now I guess they're just merging with that company, Karen is buying, I think, Betty Ford, so they're going to be this huge nonprofit. But, they use the Minnesota model, which is basically just AA turned into a treatment facility 12-step model alone. And for a long time, they had a period where they used a lot of guilt and shame, and it's part of the treatment. I think there was a company, Matrix.
A lot of them,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, Matrix was a big one in Los Angeles where it was like, it was like a boot camp almost.
TCs, but, treatment with therapeutic communities, as they used to call them, I know, back east.
Well, they still call them in Britain therapeutic communities.
And it really, that was half their thing, was like, giving you a toothbrush, making you scrub the toilet bowl, doing all these things. And
just what an addict needs is more shame.
Right.
And they already feel guilty enough.
And this is something we
trying to
spoke
get better.
about a couple weeks ago. And we got it to the last segment. I want to touch upon that. It's this common theme of punishing an addict or punishing an alcoholic. And we were talking about this on rehab, about, the sort of celebrity rehab, that, that their punishment is making you feel the detox.
Yeah, not giving people proper detoxes so they end up feeling nauseated and sick, and all of which is unnecessary.
And I don't get this. I don't, it's like, because to me, if that's how you think treating addiction, you don't understand addiction.
Right.
I don't think you could punish a drug addict, because how do you punish somebody that's sticking a needle in their arm?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody can really say that they're shooting a needle of heroin in their arm and not have some level of suicidal ideation.
Right.
That's someone who's in a lot of pain and trying to feel better. And they didn't get there overnight. I mean, it took a while to get to the point where you're shooting a needle into your arm. And the fact that people would want to punish them or make them suffer more just to try and get better, when they have that willingness to get better, even if it's only for a short period, why you would try and destroy that short period where they're willing to get better and punish them and then make it seem like, well, why should I bother? I might as well just go die. And that happens a lot. You have a lot of people who leave treatment from very punitive programs, and they end up going out and ODing.
So you're just recently in Britain. So are they responsive to your ideas and your thoughts about treatment?
Surprisingly, I mean, it's like everywhere I go, it's mixed. Some people like a lot what I say. Some people are sort of like shocked and horrified. What's going on in Britain is that there's a huge need for change, like there is here. But there it's more, it's the government is more involved directly, and everything is nationalized in terms of medication in healthcare. So there is a private level of healthcare, but it's a very, very small percentage of the population. So most people depend on the government, and it's clear that it's the government. It's not here. Everybody really sort of relies on the government. They don't realize it. They think that their health insurance is, completely private, which is not true. It's regulated by the government.
And that's another thing I want to just tell people right away as they're listening, because we are talking about serious topics. And a lot of people don't realize their insurance actually covers stuff.
Well, like the whole anti-Obama thing.
Right.
Well, all these indigent people that walk into the ER and get treated for free, who do you think pays for that?
Right.
That all gets kicked back to the hospitals from the government, covering through Medicaid and Medicare funding to make sure the hospitals don't go out of business. So, one way or another, we're paying for the indigent's health care. We might as well pay for it through some sort of reformed health insurance program. And that's, people say Obamacare is affecting healthcare. It's got nothing to do with healthcare. It only has to do with health insurance. It's only health insurance reform.
So, but what I'm trying to say is that if there are people out there that are listening that are struggling, that are going through a rough time, give us a call. And the reason I say that is because you might not know that your insurance is going to cover for your treatment, because the insurance companies aren't exactly saying, hey, we want to pay whatever amount of money it is to treat you. So let us be your advocates. And there are people out there that are scared to just call up that phone and say, I don't even know how to do this.
Right.
And we'll do that for you for absolutely free. So give us a call. We have amazing people. We really, truly do.
Also, it's in the insurance. Most insurance companies benefit not to approve care, and they want the lowest level of care possible, and that isn't necessarily what's best for the addict that's out there. So we have a good group that can properly assess if a person needs inpatient treatment or outpatient treatment, and then we can work with their insurance company to get access to the right level of care.
Okay, we have a bunch of calls lining up, so let's go to Philip in Dana Point. Welcome to KLEAN Radio, Philip.
Yeah, hi. Yeah.
Hey, Philip.
I've been sober 34 years.
Oh,
And,
congratulations.
That's great.
and I just started listening, and I'm trying to think of what's the outcome if we legalize all these drugs.
It's a great question. I mean, Philip, just so you know, we're not saying we have the answers. We're almost,
What's your thought,
Yeah.
Philip? I mean, we've been putting some ideas out there. What do you think?
Geez, I don't really know. It sounds kind of baffling. You mean when they first come in, you know, they're ignorant of just who they are and what they are, and I heard you saying about abusing them too, and I felt that when I first came in, but I had nowhere else to go, and then a great percentage, you know, over a period of years go out, so it's not a great percentage of recovery.
It's almost scary.
Well, you know, Philip, I think, you know, what we're talking about here is that we know that there's a certain percentage of people that tend to become addicted. I mean, it's been pretty steady throughout time. It's about 12% of the population that are exposed to any kind of substance eventually are going to become an addict. And that statistic has stayed level for years now. So there's something about the nature of addiction that probably is genetic, and we still haven't figured that out. That being said, there's a lot of abuse of substances that doesn't get counted in that number. You know, clearly drunk driving is more than 12% of the population.
What I found out helped me a lot was when I got involved in ACA. And I got into
Which is adult children of alcoholics for the people that...
Yeah. And I found out more. I'm trying to think of the name, Claudia Black. She happened to be in Laguna Beach, and we sort of, somewhat friends, and she put me under her wing, and I started learning a lot more about behaviors and how they're passed on. So if you're in a dysfunctional childhood or your father was a drunk, you're learning from these behaviors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of it's genetic and part of it's socialized and learned behavior. And we know that has a lot to do with poverty as well. People that, grow up.
The environment. Right,
absolutely, your environment's a big part. Nature and
nurture.
Nurture and nature, you know.
Philip, let me ask you a question, Philip, because you're sober 34 years, and you did it through the 12 steps.
Oh yeah.
So here's my question for you, because you're like the perfect type of clean person that we love. Is that you have this understanding? You're in the 12 steps, but you're accepting of many different, what people might have gone through.
Of course.
And how did you get to that? Because a lot of people sometimes don't have that.
It's true. I was in really misery, and I didn't come in right away, and I holed up in my house, and I just became what they call a dry drunk. But I almost like mentally crashed because I didn't know how to live, and the longer I was dry, the more miserable I became, and practically it was almost up to my first year that I was dry, then I went into the VA hospital. So here I am. Yeah. So then I start my recovery when I'm almost have a year. But I'm so miserable, and I'm really traumatized as I look back now, but I didn't know that then.
So you're a veteran
I'm a veteran, and I lived in meetings.
Right.
I actually couldn't work for a year.
I'm right there with you, Philip.
I was a dead man walking around.
My first year was the same.
A lot of people don't realize that when they start addiction, often they're trying to, or start using, they're often trying to cover up a lot of pain or trauma that's happened in their life. And in a way, it blocks it for a while. It blocks the pain, and it blocks the need to address the problem. So if you just stop using the substance, if it's alcohol or drugs, everything comes right back. Not only does that come back, but also all the time you've been using, all the problems that you've mounted up during that time are there as well, and you have this regret that you've lost all this time that you've been using.
I always say it's like the reverse of the movie Big. He got to become a child again. All of a sudden you get sober. You're a grown-up, but you're a child.
Yeah, you've got to start off where you started.
Right, and all of a sudden you go, oh, my God. I'm like, however age I am.
See, and I learned. Everything was in the learning, but then understanding it, going from my brain down to my heart, and understanding these experiences that I went through. But it took a long, long time.
Yeah, and a lot of that is therapy and working with people that have shared the same problems. And then, luckily, mental health is becoming better and better and better over time. We have clinicians that are better trained. We have better access to mental health care. We have better access to self-help groups and people that have shared common experiences.
And
So-
I love that that Philip is 34 years sober, and he's going to ACA. He's going to all these different things because.
Well, and you can tell he values his sobriety.
And right, because to me that's the biggest loving and cherishing your sobriety. I couldn't come up with the word.
I
right
have
there.
a lot of problems that go on still.
But that's life, Philip.
I know how to deal with them.
That's right. And that's the key, Phil.
Yeah.
Everybody will always have problems. This idea that you're supposed to like somehow wake up one day and not have problems, never feel bad. I mean, if you really never felt bad, then you wouldn't be a human being.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the mixture of feeling bad and feeling good that gives you character and strength.
And there's a lot in AA you don't like to hear when you first come in.
That's
They're telling you you're emotionally stunted.
Yeah.
They're telling you haven't grown, and you start buying into it, and you say, well, I'm like a 14-year-old.
Yeah. At best, Philip, at best.
It's quite frightening,
Yeah.
in the beginning. So you definitely need somebody with experience to put you under the wings.
Sounds great,
And
Phil.
a lot of times, a lot of people grab onto people that are like them, and they're dysfunctional.
Yeah, no, I always say that. I always hear, Philip, we got to run, but I'm going to tell you, it's
Okay.
very funny
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you just said, because often when somebody gets new into 12 steps, they say, find somebody who has what you want. And I heard
Absolutely.
somebody say, really? Because I want to use drugs. It's a little too early for that. So they say,
Hey,
find
Philip.
somebody who has what they want.
Philip, thanks for being a fan and
exactly.
listening. And remember, we're on every Sunday night
Yeah.
at 8.
And thank you for
I
being of
didn't know. This is
service.
the first time I did this. Yes, it's very good.
Very
you
good.
very
Thank you,
much.
Philip.
Thank you.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. Give us a call at 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. We have calls lining up. We'll get to you, Rick, after the break. Discussion continues at KLEANradio.com.
Are you or someone you care about addicted to drugs or alcohol? Addiction ruins lives and destroys families. Bring an end to the pain and suffering by calling KLEAN Treatment Centers. KLEAN has helped people from around the world break free by not only treating the addiction, but the underlying causes and providing vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean with no gimmicks and no false promises. If you need immediate assistance or just have questions, call KLEAN Treatment Centers for guidance. A much better life awaits. Welcome back to KLEAN Radio. Addiction happens. Recovery and a new life starts here. Watch the worldwide live video stream and get immediate addiction assistance at KLEANradio.com. That's clean with a K. Now back to Andrew Spanswick and Judah Friedman.
Welcome back to KLEAN Radio. This is a great night. My co-host with the most, Andrew Jetlag Spanswick, is back in studio with me.
Back from Britain.
Back from Britain and back from, I got to tell you, I love that you go to these places. You and Dr. Ko were speaking at a conference, and it's really cool because you guys get to, meet, and get out there. And it's really cool. Let's go right away. We have Rick in Long Beach. Let's go to Rick.
Hey, Rick, welcome to KLEAN Radio.
Guys, enjoy your program. 15 years sober.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I'd like to add that one of the main reasons I gave it up, too many ER visits from alcohol. The last one, came home. I said, Margie, this is crazy. Every time I try to drink, I get sick. It was like that, and I wanted to do something about it. I had tried about 8 times, and I'd give it about 4 days, right back at it, and that right there is a denial right there, for sure. But I see now, as time has gone, that looking back, I see that it did get better, but it was just not wanting to do it anymore. That type of acceptance, that helped me in the beginning, and. I wake up in the morning, I don't really think about it as much, but I say a little prayer here and there. I think that people that are just beginning to become sober, whatever, they might do, have done, try to stay grateful, I had a sponsor at the beginning, like you guys said, you find somebody, and the peace that this guy had was, I wanted it. And, It just I wanted it, and got working the program, staying sober and stuff, and it's just
it's interesting what you talk about going to the ER, because we talk about addiction being an illness and a disease, but we don't talk a lot about is the secondary illnesses that come about because of addiction. You know, people end up in the ER because they have alcohol poisoning. They end up in the ER because they've had an accident and they've cut themselves. They end up in the ER because, variety, they got in a fight. All these things that happen that damage our health. And then the shame and the guilt that comes the next day from all of that can just be overwhelming and push people right back into drinking again.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to deal with it, and denial, I don't have a problem.
But I think it's amazing, Rick, being sober 15 years, and there are a lot of people out there listening that are going, he could do it, I could do it.
I hope so.
Because the honesty of your story, so much of what we want to do with this program is break the shame, because that's a cycle too.
Yeah.
And also show that people like yourself can recover, and it's actually not a bad thing. Yeah. It's actually much better than being a drunk.
Yeah, Andrew, I had I told you it took me about 7 or 8 times there, and it just found, it was that denial, that set in each time.
Well, that's definitely part of that's part of the illness. It just makes you want to keep doing it.
Why do you want to continue? And that last one. I just, I also feel my higher power thing too. I just, there's something there that's given me some ability. But one thing I wanted to say also is this: that whatever the people out there that whatever they want, let's say, like you guys are talking about things that happen. Let's say you get back with your wife, you want another job, there's something. Everybody that has an addiction, it's caused problems. You, not only physically, maybe, or whatever, like me. I don't know if I'd been here if I'd have kept on, but you can get those things. I have done more things being sober, and they're not really big things either.
Yeah, it's amazing, because, you're so right, Rick, because when you're using, you actually start to believe you can't do things anymore. You
don't do anything anymore.
Well, you don't do anything. But it's also like you think you could never want to be bothered, far less actually walk up a hill. Unless, of course, there were drugs at the top of the hill.
But that's what it is. It's Groundhog Day. It's a even worse version of Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
And Rick, obviously, you did it with the 12 steps, and it's very, I really want to thank you very much for being, for listening to the show, Rick.
Yeah, and that first step, if you can't grab that, you're going to have some problems.
And Rick, before you go, give us a couple suggestions for the people out there that are listening that are struggling.
I would say that it will get better. There's no doubt. I mean, unless you're real, critically ill or something, but it will get better for you. There's a lot out there, more than you think, because, you've kind of numbed yourself. And the ones that just, like I have AA phones, second Sunday of every month in the Long Beach area. I get a few sick calls, and I did a 12-step the other day. I didn't go, but I sent somebody out, and the guy he just, when the people, if you're trying to help people, it's a lot of the drugs and alcohol are talking, and anyway, you hope that person will get better, to realize and just keep talking to them and trying to get them to see see the light.
I couldn't agree with you more, Rick. We got to run, but thank you so much for the call.
Sure.
And that's a great call. That's Rick from Long Beach, sober 15 years, Andrew, and he's saying to people, don't give up.
Yeah, just
And even when it comes to helping people, as hard as that is sometimes, it can be very frustrating for the family members. Because
and think about his wife having to deal with him in the ER all the time.
Marge, and
it's got to be rough.
But it's people. It's very hard dealing with addiction because addicts, addicts lie. But the crazy thing about addiction addicts when they lie is that they truly don't want to lie.
Right.
They really believe they're telling at that moment they want it.
Right. And what do you think about the Gandolfini thing and everybody making a big fuss over the slamming 8 drinks?
It's a lot of drinks.
The guy's 300 pounds.
It's a lot of drinks.
Devil's advocate here.
First of all, it was a mix of drinks,
right,
and a mix of food.
That's always bad.
The guy was 300.
But obviously, it wasn't whatever he ate that night. It was long-term lifestyle, and we know that he had a long-term problem with cocaine. So,
and here's the thing. I think sometimes the more famous you get, the more insulated you get, and the more fear people have of telling you.
The more fear you have yourself of losing what you have.
You know, we're friends, and sometimes we do call each other out on certain things. It's often I say to you,
at least 3 or 4 times a day.
At least 3 or 4 times a day. And there's often that I say to you, hey, relax on the travel a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't listen to me.
I don't listen to you,
but and I say relax on the travel. It's because I care.
Right.
And you haven't insulated yourself so that some people can't say certain things to you. And I wonder how many people were scared to say something to him. I don't know. I'm just totally...
Yeah, and people have vested interest in it as
Right.
well. Like his agent doesn't want to tell him to stop working. So, but anyway, I don't know for sure. I don't know his own story, but it's
God
just
bless.
tragic either way.
It is. I mean, it's horrifically tragic. Let's go to Alan in L.A. Welcome to Clean Radio, Alan.
Oh, hi. Thank you very much for having me. Well, I have some thoughts, some ideas, and I'd like to, if possible, talk off the air about some things I may not get a chance to say.
Sure,
Well,
yeah,
what
we have people that can talk to you.
Yeah.
We can transfer you at the end of the call, so we'll just make sure we do that.
Okay, perfect. Well, what I wanted to say is this. I think that we all, on this planet, we all have one thing in common, and that's life. And that if we can start appreciating really what we represent in this universe, I think that it would change the world. I think there's a gray area between legalizing drugs and just letting people just go for broke on whatever they've been doing all these years.
Right. Well, that gray area is called regulation. It's the idea that you legalize everything, but the government then controls and regulates it so that we know what's in it. And there's basically availability for people that choose to use a harmful substance. At least they know what's in there.
What is your opinion, Alan?
Right. Well, my opinion is this. I think that the government needs a big body that can be replicated around the world, can do two things. If they legalize drugs, they're not legalize it in the way that we've been speaking of, but they legalize it where people can understand that they are part of the plan. And you no longer have to go to the cartels, go to the drug dealers. You don't have to rob anybody, kill anybody, steal anything to get anything. Because guess what? They're going to be part of the program. And the program is going to change their life and put them back in society. It's going to put them in a position where anything that they were on, they'll be provided that for a while until they withdraw. No longer become clean, become a part of the world and society. I think this way...
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that...
The drug dealers
Alan, not to interrupt you too much here, but, we know that from Portugal, for example, they're a country that have completely legalized drugs, and it's rapidly decreased the amount of addiction and drug usage. In fact, most people don't even bother to smoke pot. The rates of smoking pot with adolescents is like a quarter of what it is in America. So
yes,
legalization takes a lot of the thrill out of it. And
Alan,
takes
do you
a lot
have personal experience with this?
Well, one of my point being is this. If you give them an opportunity to be able to know that the system cares and you don't have to go to the drug dealers. They put the drug dealers out of business.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Put them out of business. They don't have to go to get anywhere. You go because you're going to be converted and become part of society now, and you're going to be weaned in time off of these things. And now, guess what? You have a whole new society that has hope. Right now, there's no really answer to hope.
Alan, I think you're absolutely right. We actually were looking for hope. Hope's the big deal. It's about opportunity and growth.
Thank you for the call,
Thank you for the call, Alan. Also, the thing is that people are still going to make money off of this, and there will be drug dealers, but there'll be drug dealers selling regulated product.
They'll be in suits,
right? And the goal there is that the government will be able to tax it. And I would hope that if we did something like that, instead of spending money on interdiction and fighting things with the police force, that we actually put the money into treatment and education and for prevention. So I
think part of the problem, by the way, Andrew, is that, by the way, if you just tuned in, you are listening to Clean Radio. Give us a call at 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. Andrew, let me ask you a question. Do you trust the government to regulate drugs? I mean, really, let's say they lost the fight on the war on drugs. Mm-hmm. What makes you,
Well, I trust them to regulate my pharmaceuticals and those drugs.
Right.
So, we haven't had such a good job with them distributing them properly. Right. That might be a bigger issue. But if we legalize most drugs, you're not going to have as much of an underground drug market.
And we've tried that way.
Well, the Volstead Act is the perfect example with prohibition, where we said, we'll just get rid of it. And it actually did work in some ways. There was less drunk driving. There was less crime in families related to alcohol. most alcohol statistics went down. But what happened was there was this huge underground market for alcohol, and then violence in society went way up. And lack of respect for the law went way up. So it's a trade-off. Since you can't get rid of alcohol, nobody could ever get rid of alcohol. It's the easiest thing on earth to make, right? So what do? As a society, you have to come to terms with the fact that this substance exists. It exists in society. It has some really negative effects in a lot of ways. So how do you address dealing with those negative effects with positive forms of interdiction, not just saying, oh, we'll get rid of alcohol, but we'll have consequences. We're going to have consequences for your behavior, and if you become addicted, we're going to get you some help.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. Let's go to an old friend, an old caller. We got Patrick calling from Austin, Texas, checking in. Welcome back, Patrick.
Hey, how are you? Thanks.
How are you?
Some days are better than others.
Sound a little rough today.
Sound a little cryptic. Very. That for an addict, for an addict and alcoholic means I'm not doing well.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's cooking?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot at all, man. Just trying to. We got like 2 days clean today, and I'm just trying, not by choice, but I'm gonna try to stay clean from here on out.
Patrick, just so people know, Patrick's been calling for a long time, and he had a year and a half sober, right? At some point.
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years sober, and he's been, he went out and he's been struggling, a couple days here, a couple days there, and we have offered Patrick a free bed at KLEAN Treatment Centers a long time ago, and you never have taken us up on that offer.
That's another reason I was calling today too.
Would you like that bed, Patrick?
I'm getting to that point, yeah.
Well, what's getting to that point? How can we get you to the point which is in treatment?
It's been the main thing on my mind for the last 2 weeks, and I promised myself I'd call tonight, and I don't know.
Okay, so Patrick, that basically means you want to come in.
Pretty much.
Well, good. Okay, so we're going to have Joe call you.
Yeah.
And he's going to arrange it. We're going to get you in.
And we're going to get you in. The only thing, Patrick, we ask is that you figure out something with your plane ticket.
Okay.
And the reason we do that, and the reason Andrew likes to do that is because we want to see that
you have some willingness.
And
you're putting something into it.
Other than, the amazing willingness that you actually
want to come.
And you actually called up the show tonight, Patrick. But if you do that, we'll get you in.
That was my only question is, what about the plane ticket, really?
You're from Austin, Texas.
You know what? There's Southwest.
Yeah.
It's, not that difficult. If you call Joe, he'll help you arrange the ticket. All we ask is that you pay for it. And the reason, like I said, is that I want to see you put something into this. I have a lot of people that I give out free treatment to, and they don't really want it. So I just, it's a lot of money I'm putting out there to treat you for free, and a lot of time and effort. And, I just want to see that you're putting something into it.
And Patrick, let me ask you this question. So you don't have any money for the plane
and
ticket?
I don't own the airline, so I'm not benefiting.
It's not Andrew Air.
I can figure the plane ticket out.
Okay.
That's good.
That's good. That's what we want to hear, Patrick. And we're in this with you for the long haul, as long as you need to, as long as you need this to get sober.
I just can't wait till the time when you get out of treatment, and hopefully you're doing well, and we can have this conversation on KLEAN Radio, and you talking about how great your life is and how much it's changed.
It's funny because I daydream about that day also.
That's great.
Really do.
That's good.
And Patrick, but just so the people out there that are listening, you're the perfect example. And somebody might think we're crazy, because Andrew
and
I
this is money, no money. Insurance, no insurance. Obviously, most people have insurance, and we can get people in just on their insurance, so it doesn't really come out of pocket, other than like what Patrick's having to pay for is travel to get to see us.
Yeah.
But it's the same struggle one way or the other. It's that getting over to that point where they're actually willing to come in.
Yeah, and the people out there that are listening, this is why you never know when it's that time. And I was talking about this last week on last week's show. My father always said, as long as his son was alive, there was a chance.
Yep.
And so I'm going to hear
we're getting feedback from Patrick's radio. Anyway. All right, Patrick.
Patrick, stay on the line, okay?
Stay on the line. We're going to get you on with Joe right now, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
And
take care, and I hope to see you in the next couple days.
All right.
So hold on, Patrick.
All right.
That was Patrick from Austin, Texas. He's been a loyal listener, and he's been, he used to call up and give us his day count, and he got to 76, I think it was at one point, Patrick, and the other Patrick, our best video guy in town. And, Patrick, it's, one of the exciting things is our video guy who's not sober and was counting days. Every Sunday he'd come in and tell us at the station how many days Patrick should have.
Right.
And one day Patrick stopped calling. But, we'd text, we'd Facebook. And I implore everybody, I beg of everybody out there, if you don't, it's hard. This is the hardest call in the world to make. So if you're scared about it, go on Facebook. Go to, Facebook/KLEAN Radio. Private message me or Andrew or anybody that works at KLEAN, and we'll talk to you.
Yeah, and also, we have our 800 number that's, our 888 number that's 24/7. So, and that's 888-601-6040, 888-601-6040, and you can talk to our counselors that are online all the time.
And it's so important what you were saying is, which is that let us be your advocate. You shouldn't have to do this alone.
Well, if you already have a problem with addiction, dealing with an insurance company and dealing with, family and travel and all that's difficult. And, we realize that. And so we're good at making that work. So.
And Patrick, we see you lost your call, so just call back. If you don't call back, we got it. Okay, we got all the info.
Yeah,
I want to thank everybody. We're not almost out of time, but I want to thank Mark over there. I want to thank Steve behind the boards. You guys, I want to thank Rand. The show has...
Patrick.
And Patrick, I've thanked him a couple times already.
You're family to be.
Thank for the people that are sitting in the studio with us tonight. Gil the Thrill Rasmussen, who is a Vietnam vet, and I just I have nothing but he's really a cool dude, and he had if we had time, he actually had his first drink in Vietnam.
Wow.
He never had a drink until he went to Vietnam. He's not an alcoholic, he's nothing, but he had his first drink in Vietnam.
It's anything you can brush your teeth with safely over there, probably.
That's probably true. And one of these weeks, I'd love him to actually come on because he has certain, I don't want to reveal the issues, but he has a couple issues that he's had to deal with. That one of the things that we talk about. And in future shows, we are going to be getting into more about the troops that are coming back, because we constantly see on the commercials with the Wounded Warrior Project,
right,
and which is an amazing charity, and it talks about troops that have been shot or blown up by landmines. Those are the wounds we see.
And more veterans have died now from suicide than in the war.
And those are the wounds we see.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the mental wounds of all the troops that are coming back, and that's. I can't, for some reason, we don't like dealing with mental illness in our country.
America likes dealing with crises in the front that are glorious and something that we think we can fix. And like the war on drugs, it's a great way to get elected. We'll have a war on drugs, but then when it doesn't work, we're not willing to deal with the consequences of what it's created and the fact that it doesn't work. We're not good at looking back at what we failed at and then correcting our actions. That's why even after Vietnam, we continue to make mistakes, politically and militarily, and it's just amazing to me that how hard it is for a country like ourselves with so many bright people in it to keep making so many mistakes over and over again.
It's constant. This thing with mental illness, and we've spoken about it, about the NFL. Once a month, they do the breast cancer awareness, right? It's great.
Once a year.
Once a month. It almost seems like once a month, but every year they have the breast cancer. And
you watch a lot of football.
And I know this isn't a politically correct thing to say. Right. Have Mental Awareness Month. Okay, you have players that are constantly doing these insane things. You have the New England Patriots, Aaron Hernandez last week, who's probably going to jail for murder. And you have constant streams of this. Yet there's no Mental Awareness Month.
Yeah, I think there's attempts, and there are definitely people are becoming more aware that mental illness is much more prevalent than people realized, and a lot of that is that it's become a little less stigmatized. And it's also there's more access to it, more awareness, but we obviously have a long way to go. And then you also still have a lot of people out there that don't believe that mental illness exists. Yeah. And that
they're the ones that are mentally ill.
Well, I'm not going to say that, but they're the ones that haven't been exposed to mental illness in their family or friends, and so they're making a judgment without really the proper knowledge, or they don't really understand fully what mental illness is. So
Glenn Close is becoming a huge advocate for mental illness now. Mm-hmm. She had an amazing statement. She said she wouldn't have done Fatal Attraction the same way knowing what she knows now.
Right.
I mean, it's good that she didn't at that time because it was a great
It's a great movie, right?
and she scared every man in America. But it's great that people are getting on board with this.
One of the things I think about a lot watching TV, is that so many of the characters on TV are psychopaths or sociopaths, people are absolutely fascinated with it. Reality television, people are fascinated with, spouses fighting and one ending up in a homicide. How many wives faux pas. Anyway, how many shows do they have like
Quite
that?
a few. I watch a lot of them on Investigation Discovery. So,
But yeah, so anyway, the point being that, people are obviously fascinated with and intrigued by the fact that people do these things and they have these strange behaviors, but they only seem to be interested in the extremes. I haven't seen a show yet, unfortunately, on, the homeless mentally ill. I think that would be fascinating. But people don't want to watch that. They don't want to look at the person lying on the street.
Well, they don't want to look through the long term.
Yeah, and also, it's amazing to me, living in LA, and there's a lot of we have more homeless people here than any other city in America. And, you just walk down the street and people just ignore people. They just walk right over them. It's just,
in this
sad.
lovely liberal city that we live in, where people care so much. And they do.
About their career.
Yeah, right. And it's one of the funniest things that Rush Limbaugh ever did. One of the very funny things, since we're on KBC,
was oxycodone.
And Rush Limbaugh actually, when Martin Sheen became the mayor of Malibu,
right.
This is years ago. He wanted to send a bus of homeless to Malibu from New York to show, welcome them.
Right, it's like, we already have them here.
But that never happened. But anyways, listen, we are running out of time. We've had a great show tonight. I'm so glad you're back. I know you're a trooper tonight. I know you're not feeling great.
Well, a little jet lag.
Jet lag.
They say it takes eight days to get over it. I don't know. I'm on day 3,
I want to thank the amazing fans that we have out there on Facebook and that talk to us all week. Includes your mother, who responded to a Facebook post in a good way, but I still couldn't understand what it was because I think she took my post literally by saying love is a verb, not a noun. And I probably, should have
Yeah. Well, my dad's been really sick with cancer, so, but I'm happy to say he's come quite through. He just had a stem cell transplant, and it's actually working for the second time, which is almost miraculous.
It's amazing, and you got to be there.
Yeah, I got to be there in New York.
That's the gift of this stuff that we're talking about, is that we get to be sons, we get to be husbands, we get to be sisters and brothers if you stay sober. And I know a lot of people out there are struggling right now, so I beg of you, the show's about to end, but if you need anything, give us a call. The number is 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. That number is 24 hours a day, and it's absolutely free. And I beg you, make that call. It might change your life. Patrick, you better get on that plane. And you better get on that plane and take that bed that Andrew's offering you at KLEAN. Because, yeah.
That's a great opportunity. Hey, Judah, I'd like to thank you for taking care of things as always. I don't think you've ever missed a show. Unbelievable. And everybody else here for doing such a great job while I've been away. So.
It's amazing. And I want to thank everybody out there again. Go to Facebook/KLEAN Radio. That's Facebook/KLEAN Radio, KLEAN with a K. And say hello. Tell us how you're doing.
Yeah, check us out at KLEANradio.com and look at some of the old episodes. There's some really great ones out there.
And we have a great show coming up next week. I'm going to just tease it with that. There's some of my favorite people coming back into the studio talking about the issues going on in California with teenagers. And the discussion continues at KLEANradio.com. Thank you, everybody.
Are you or someone you care about addicted to drugs or alcohol? Addiction ruins lives and destroys families. Bring an end to the pain and suffering by calling KLEAN Treatment Centers. KLEAN has helped people from around the world break free by not only treating the addiction, but the underlying causes and providing vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean with no gimmicks and no false promises. If you need immediate assistance or just have questions, call KLEAN Treatment Centers for guidance. A much better life awaits.